You guys, welcome to Sick of Pricks, a type 2 diabetes podcast. I'm Mary, your diabetes bestie, and today we're talking about support systems that actually support you. And if you rolled your eyes a little when I said support system, I get it. Because a lot of us have been told we're so lucky to have support while simultaneously feeling completely alone in this. So today we're clearing the air on what support is supposed to look like, what it often looks like instead, and how to stop accepting crumbs and calling it care. Because not all support is helpful, and some of it is straight up exhausting. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that support means having people around you. Family, friends, a partner, coworker, someone, anyone who technically knows you have diabetes. But just because someone is present does not mean they're supportive. Support is not someone saying, "Let me know if you need anything," and then disappearing the second things get inconvenient. Support is not someone policing your food while offering zero emotional backup. Support is not advice you didn't ask for, guilt wrapped up as concern, or silence when you're clearly struggling. And support is definitely not someone making your health about their comfort. Real support does not make you feel smaller, harder to deal with, or like you're asking for too much. Let's talk about this one because I see it constantly. Sometimes the people closest to us think they're helping, but what they're actually doing is adding pressure. They ask questions that feel like pop quizzes. They comment on your plate. They want updates on your numbers. They panic when you don't do things exactly the way that they would. And suddenly, managing diabetes feels like a group project you didn't sign up for. I hated group projects in high school. Did anyone hate them? I hated them. I always did all the work. Everyone else got credit for what I did. It drove me nuts. Here's the thing. Even well-intentioned support can become harmful when it takes away your autonomy. If you feel like you're constantly defending your choices, explaining yourself, or managing someone else's emotions about your health, that is not support. That is emotional labor, and you are allowed to opt out of that. So let's flip the script. Real support feels grounding, not stressful. It feels steady, not conditional, and it feels safe. Supportive people don't need you to perform wellness for them. They don't need you to be perfect, and they don't need constant proof that you're doing it right. They trust you. They ask how you're doing instead of assuming, and they listen without immediately trying to fix you. They respect your boundaries even when they don't fully understand them. Sometimes real support is someone saying, "I don't know what to say, but I'm here." And honestly, sometimes that's exactly what we need. This part is important because a lot of us get stuck thinking support has to come from certain people. Your partner should support you, your family should support you, your friends should support you. And in a perfect world, sure, all of that would be true. But support can also look like a coach who gets it, a community where you don't have to explain yourself, routines that make your life easier, tools that reduce the mental load, and boundaries that protect your energy. Sometimes the most supportive thing in your life is a system that you built, not a person who disappointed you. And that's not a failure on your part. That means that you adapted to the circumstances you're dealt. Here's a tricky one that I need you to hear because it's super important. You are allowed to choose your support system. You're not obligated to keep people close just because they've always been there, especially if them being there feels judgmental, dismissive, or draining. Chosen support is powerful. It's the friend who texts you after a hard appointment and doesn't ask for details unless you offer. It's the group that cheers for consistency, not perfection. And it's the space where you can say, "I'm tired," without being told to just try harder or push through. And sometimes chosen support looks like distancing yourself from people who mean well, but cause harm anyway. That is not selfish. That is self-respect. Now, what if you don't have a support system yet? Because I know someone out there is listening and thinking, well, this all sounds great, but I don't actually have that. Maybe your family doesn't get it. Maybe your partner tries but misses the mark. Maybe your friends mean well but say the wrong thing every single time. Or maybe you've been doing this so long on your own that asking for support feels awkward, vulnerable, or just exhausting, or overwhelming, like you don't want to have to admit that you need help. If that's you, I want you to hear this. You are not broken for wanting support and not knowing where to find it. Building support is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned. So, first, you're going to start smaller than you think. A support system does not appear fully formed. You don't go from doing everything alone to perfect village overnight. Support starts small. It might be just one person who feels safe enough for you to say, I don't need advice, I just need to vent, or I just need you to listen. It might be one space where you don't have to explain diabetes from scratch. It might be one routine that removes a decision from your day so you have less mental load. Support doesn't have to be dramatic to be meaningful. Sometimes it's just consistent. A lot of us say we don't have support when the truth is we've never been taught how to ask for it. Support me is vague. Be there for me is vague. Most people don't know what that actually means. So instead, try clarity. You might say something like, I don't need advice right now, I just need to vent. Sometimes I'll say to my kids or my friends or my husband, okay, do you want help problem solving or do you just need me to listen? That lets them know that I want to help in whatever way they need help. I am offering them support in whatever way supports them in that moment. Okay, so we need to ask for that ourselves. I don't need advice right now, I just need to vent. Or it helps when you ask how I'm feeling instead of commenting on my food. Or I'm handling this. What I need most is encouragement, not reminders. Asking for help is not being needy. It's giving people a roadmap on how to be supportive. When you think about support, you might think about your immediate circle, but I want you to think about the fact that sometimes the people closest to you are not the best support for this part of your life. And sometimes that can be hard to accept. But that's where outside support comes in. Communities, coaching, peer spaces, where diabetes is normal, not awkward. Places where you don't have to explain why you're tired, you're frustrated, or burned out. Sometimes the most healing support comes from people who haven't known you forever, but understand exactly what you're carrying. And here's another truth. People are human. They're going to mess up. They're going to forget. They're going to disappoint you and say the wrong thing. That's why systems matter. Systems don't judge you. They don't comment on your plate. They don't get uncomfortable with your feelings. Routines, tools, reminders, habits, boundaries, these are all forms of support. If your life feels easier because of something you put in place, that counts as support. You have to give yourself permission to stop forcing unsupportive relationships. This might be the hardest part. If someone consistently makes your health harder, even after you've communicated your needs, you are allowed to step back. You're allowed to protect your energy and you're allowed to stop trying to convince people to understand you. Support is not something you should have to fight for. Now, I want to talk about support systems versus motivation. We know motivation is unreliable. We know that it comes and goes like the waves in the ocean, okay? Support systems are what carry you, though, when motivation jets. When you're burned out, when your numbers don't cooperate, when you're sick of thinking about food, when you're tired of being strong. Support is what keeps you from quitting when everything in you wants to disappear for a while. And if your current support makes those moments heavier instead of lighter, something needs to change. If you're listening to this and realizing, oh, I don't really feel supported, I want you to know something. You're not being ungrateful and you're not expecting too much. You might just be surrounded by people who don't know how to support you the way you need. And you're allowed to want better conversations, boundaries, energy, and support. A lot of people think support has to be constant involvement, but that's not what it is at all. It doesn't have to be loud or perfect. It just has to make your life easier, not harder. Okay? You get to redefine what support looks like for you. You can ask for what you need. You can stop explaining yourself to people who refuse to listen. And you can build systems that work even when people fall short. And you can choose support that meets you where you are, not where someone thinks you should be. If diabetes already asks a lot of you, your support system should not be one more thing to manage. You deserve support that steadies you, that believes in you, that reminds you you're not alone without making you feel watched. And if you don't have that yet, that doesn't mean it's not coming. It just means we're building it differently. All right, that's it for today's episode of Sick of Pricks. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps more than you know. And hey, if you're ready to connect with people who actually get it, come join my Facebook community, Sugar Mama Strong. It's a safe space for support, accountability, and real conversations about health, goals, and life. You can also follow along on Facebook and Instagram for more daily motivation and updates. Everything's linked in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.